Ladies and gentlemen, I have Marvin moded my way to the morning, and now we have some more side missions to partake in Trelis. So obviously we need 50,000 gold coins to get the divine artifact from Vac. And the only place we can get the any kind of money towards that endeavor is to collect rent from the farms. Obviously, one farm has been devastated. Derek's farm apparently doesn't have anything, but we do have to go that way to drop off Ben's shovel anyway. There's a hut up there, which is actually another farm, more of a pasture of sorts. That's the only place we'll get any reasonable kind of money. That is a bloodfly. We'll ignore him. God damn, I love Gothic. And there's one farm, which is kind of... Oh, bugger it all. What is after me? Goblin! And a boar! Aren't you two a couple motherfuckers? Eat my asshole! That's right, you piece of shit. And, yeah, there's one more farm that's kind of on the route to Varant, which a lot of people might miss, just because they don't really think to go that way. But it's not too far out of the way of the ruined farm. And it's very important that you find it, because actually there's a fellow there who will lead you to the third rebel encampment of Martana. So it's very important that you find it. And here's Ben himself, who's he's still pissed off that we beat him up, in spite of the fact that he was being a very hostile smartass.
I have your shovel. You owe me something.
You were really in the temple?
As you can see.
But there were these horrible...
Undead.
One thing I've got to give you. You're brave.
Yeah, well, your compliments will not work your way out of this one.
You forgot something.
What?
Cash, pal. Out with it.
Sometimes I've seen the farmer Derek creeping over to the Eno statue at night. Take a look around. He's definitely got something stashed away there.
Is that so? I find myself doubtful. I mean, what could he possibly be doing around here besides praying? Oh, well, how about that? And he's got some milk, a carrot. He's got 300 plus another 13. That 300 gold is the only thing that's guaranteed to be here. The rest of it is just random loot. So 313 gold plus some assorted sundries and groceries. Oh, jeez. I'm not sure why I did that. But let's lead these slaves away, because if I piss them off too much, they might actually attract Derek, who will fight us as well. Back here. Yeah, so... I'm not really sure what I was thinking. I've had a bit too much to drink tonight, it seems. But, you know, while we're here, do we have any learning points? We have plenty of learning points. Is there anything we could afford to learn from this? Summon Flaming Sword. That's kind of I'd say one of the more useless spells in this game. It's temporary. And the only time you would really want this is if you were a melee character, or sort of a spell sword type character, who just did not have a whole lot of strength just yet. I think the sword you get probably has around 100 damage, and doesn't have very high stat requirements. So, in those cases it would be nice. It's also a one-handed weapon, so you can use a shield with it. But it's really just not that powerful overall, I don't think. As far as the rest of these, I think starting from here, the rest of these we can only learn towards the end of the game. And you have to swear yourself to Enos. So we have all the useful spells from the School of Dominance that we can get at this point. So there's nothing from Enos we can really gather. But if you want to, you can get more life energy, some more endurance, or some more mana. In fact, endurance is something we will need much later down the game. Once we reach Nordmar, so I will explain that more once we reach that point. Endurance 60. Oh wow, that's more than we needed. Okay, so that leaves us with 309 points that we can do whatever we want with. We'll probably hang on to that until our learn faster skill gives us 2 more extra points to make that an even 5. There's not really any more spells I'm looking to get. Ice Lance. I kind of forgot I had that. That's way too useful to not have quick slotted. So let's put that there. Now I have to do that. For some reason, if you close a menu while you have the cursor highlighted over that, that one spell or that one item on your quick bar will remain highlighted. It's very irritating. To me, at least. Someone who has ADHD. So, well, we got a bit more money out of Derek's farm than we anticipated, so there's still 300 gold towards the 50,000 that we need for Vak. Obviously, we do have the 50,000. We have 51,914, but that doesn't leave us with a whole lot to spare once we pay him off to get that divine artifact. And a lot of fuss over these divine artifacts, but we're not too sure just yet what they actually do. The only person we know who wants them is Zardos himself. Apparently he has enlisted the help of the orcs to uncover them for him, and what his motivations are, well, they've remained terribly ambiguous since the start of the series. You're dead, aren't you? I killed you. In Gothic, he showed up in the Temple of the Sleeper and just completely passed out without us ever really figuring out what he was doing there. And then, obviously, on the Idol of Irdorath, he showed up there and he absorbed the power of the undead dragon. And, well, he left us with more questions than answers in that case. He did say that Beliar had chosen him. And that's not really reassuring in any way, shape, or form. So it seems that he has some dealings with Beliar that we really have to find out what he's doing. And so far the only lead we have is that he actually is residing in Nordmar somewhere. Nordmar happens to be the smallest territory of this entire game. But the landscape, actually cleverly designed by Piranhabytes in my opinion, makes it seem so much larger. Montera has a lot of cities, a few mountain ranges, and just so many open fields that you will get lost. It has such a variety to the environment, really. A lot of forests, a lot of mountains, and open plains, and some, seaside sort of areas. Varant, on the other hand, is very singular in its sort of appearance. It does have mountain ranges across certain areas, but for the most part it's very flat and very barren, but it is the biggest territory. And Nordmar, by contrast, is the smallest in terms of, in a two-dimensional sense. But it has so many hills, so many cliffs, so many valleys, and just the overall shape of the land makes it very easy to get lost there. And there's a lot to find. And it is, in fact, my favorite area of the game. So I do like the way they designed the land in this. You start in Murtana, which is sort of the middle ground between the two. And from there, you either go straight into the absolute chaotic mess that is Nordmar, or the long, expansive, barren waste that is Varant, whichever way you choose to go. And I think we will go to Varant first, just for continuity's sake. But here's a farm here, and he has some cows and some fellows, and your name is terribly familiar.
No, please, don't hurt me. It wasn't me.
Hold on. What have you been up to? Out with it.
Nothing. I'm just a simple farmer doing my job. Believe me.
Now, what is curious about Avogadro here, he's the only person who has that voice in this entire game. Now, that's not to say that he has a unique voice actor, but whoever his actor is, performed a specific voice just for this character.
You're creeping around like a thief.
Are you gonna say something? Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay, see, this is what I'm talking about here. Or, no, I haven't really talked about this in a while, but this is the critical problem with being in Marvin mode. The camera is locked on Avogadro here, but my character is able to still move around normally.
Hey, folks! There's a fight!
I have no idea how to fix this. No idea whatsoever. I've gotten rid of all that text there by holding control and pressing backwards. But holding control and pressing forwards when you're locked onto any like NPC or living thing in the game will focus the camera on them. And I have no idea how to unlock the camera from them. So the only way to fix that, of course, is to reload. It's very irritating. So, that was a bit of a mess, and we will turn off Marvin mode to make sure that that does not happen again. So, you heard his voice actor, or at least for the generic clips when we were fighting him. He had his voice actor is the same that we've heard before. He seems to have the same voice actor as just several generic NPCs, but also of Renwick and some of the more eccentric characters of this game. But he performs a very different voice just for this character alone.
Please, don't hurt me. It wasn't me.
Relax. I just want to look around.
Thank Enos. And I thought...
You're no farmer. You're a runaway alchemist. You work for the orcs in Trelis.
Please don't give me away. I'll give you all my gold. But don't tell anyone I'm hiding here, all right?
And among other things, for some reason his voice for this character is a very southern United States kind of accent. Very... It's just weird. Like, the localization for the Gothic games have always been very American. Like, the English localizations have always had American voice actors doing Americanish accents, which lended to a very curious accent for many of their characters. You know, you expect most fantasy games to have British voice acting, but the Gothic games always had very American voices, very southern. And to me, it lended a characterization to these games that you don't find anywhere else, and it's one of the many things that made these games so endearing to me. For example, Iberian had a very evangelical, sort of Baptist kind of accent, which made him stand out so much to me. And this character sounds like he could be coming from Tennessee himself. Whereas you would expect, you know, farmers in a fantasy game would probably have more of a Cockney British kind of accent. They would sound uneducated and, you know, very blue-collar, but in a British sense as opposed to an American sense. And I always liked that about Gothic. It made their world so much more unique, and it made it stand out a lot more. And I'm not saying that the voice acting of games such as Risen were poor. Risen 2 was not that great. Risen 3 was a marginal improvement, but Risen had some good voice actors who were all British. But this game relied on American voice actors who relied on very American influences for their characters. And it just made it made me remember these games a lot more.
Did you just say something about gold?
I'll give you 150 gold coins if you leave me alone. That's all I have.
Why did you run away from Trelis anyway?
Can you imagine how the orcs treat you when you aren't a fighter? You're always getting pushed around and humiliated. I just couldn't take it anymore.
Give me your gold and I'll let you go.
Oh, thank you, stranger. May Enos bless you. Here's your gold, and thank you again.
You're welcome.
Show me your goods.
And he says all he had was 150 gold, but here he is with 7,600. No matter. At least this means we can sell stuff to him. Don't need blade quarrels, don't need normal quarrels, don't need this extra pickaxe. Don't need any of these. Banish evil. I just want to keep the rest of these. Some of these I want to experiment with a little bit more, just to determine their usefulness. I think the fog spell, someone called me out saying, what I said that it was not all that useful, and someone called me out to say quite the opposite. So I want to see how useful it actually is, because I have had a lot of trouble actually making it work in the sense that it's supposed to. Where it's supposed to obscure you and make you able to just kind of walk past enemies or anyone who would otherwise get you into trouble. We don't need that.
You look like a strong fighter. You are surely the right person to help me with the small problem in the caves under my farm.
What's up with the caves under your farm?
I've been hearing this scary grunting up here for days now. I suspect that some beasts have made themselves at home in the caves below this rock. I can no longer sleep in peace.
You're the boss here?
The orcs are the bosses. They squeeze us farmers like ripe fruit. I think the only reason they haven't killed us peasants yet is because they know nothing about breeding livestock. They would probably starve if it weren't for us.
Now that's one of the things I do like, and it's one of the things that they kind of mentioned in the manual. The manual had a lot of story that did not turn up in the game for some reason. And one of the quotes that they had for the orcs, it said something like, "A happy slave is an enemy to freedom." And I'm not saying that I support that ideal at all, but I do love that quote for the implications of the orcs as a sort of, political... What's the word? Just a political presence. You know, they rely on human slaves to do most of their labor. But it's very clear that they need these slaves, and the best way to ensure that these slaves stay working for them is to ensure that they don't believe that there's any better option for them. And, Jared here, he does say that they sort of squeeze them, they put a lot of pressure on them to perform these services for the orcs. But it becomes very clear that the orcs need them. And the orcs have to ensure that these people don't go running away for any reason. But at the same time, they need to earn the best profit they possibly can out of them. And, it's clear, coming to Myrtana, the orcs came from Nordmar. In Nordmar, there's no such thing as livestock. There's no such thing as a farm. In those places, you have a lot of wild animals, and you rely on hunting them and taking whatever resources you can from them to survive. But in Myrtana, you have these open fields, you have farms, you have people who grow grains and other, they grow food for themselves, but they also grow food for their livestock to turn it into, meat and dairy that they can produce. And the orcs coming here realize that that is just sort of the status quo around here, and they need to depend on that if they want to survive in this kingdom that they have now just usurped. And so they rely on these peasants who have been doing this for generations and are the only people who really know the delicate art of land ownership and livestock farming. You are Avogadro. I need to talk to you some more.
Go now.
Fuck off.
How's it going on your farm?
If I didn't have to pay such high rent every month, I'd be a lot better off.
How much rent do you pay the orcs?
They want 1,000 gold coins every month. I managed to scrape the gold together, but so far, I haven't dared to leave my farm. First, I want to know what's wrong with the caves down there.
I will take care of the grunting beasts in the caves.
Go eradicate those nests down there once and for all.
Show me your goods.
And he has a decent bit of gold, not quite as much as Avogadro for some reason. But he also doesn't really sell a whole lot. A lot of people have the world map for some reason, which you can get from the beginning of the game. I'm not really sure what Avogadro's up to. Can't really figure out what he's doing. He's pacing. He seems very nervous. I feel like we put him on edge a little bit. Or either that, or he wants to sit precisely where Josh is sitting, and he's very pissed about it. But you are somebody who stands out a little bit.
You don't look like a swineherd.
Neither do you. What do you want here? To empty out the farm?
You look like someone with a lucrative extra income. A thief.
If you say so. Have you already been in the castle in Trelis? There are supposedly great riches hidden there.
Where is the best place to get rid of hot property?
West of here in Namora is Dudley. He'll buy your stolen goods.
Namora, eh?
Where can I get something really valuable?
The shaman Kamak at the excavation in Trelis carries an artifact. It must be some sort of power source. Well, can't hurt for him to lose it, I guess.
I suppose it couldn't. So Namora, it is very clearly on our map, our log, a rebel camp. And in fact, Vak has already told us about it. So apparently this guy has some connection to the rebels, which he has just carelessly let slip that after we waved a couple gold coins under his nose.
I will plunder the castle of Trelis sooner or later.
Nice. If you pull that off, I might show you a couple of tricks. Well then, don't let the orcs catch you.
It's not actually all that difficult to plunder the castle of Trelis, as I will show you in just a moment. Is something troubling you, Pier? What is it? A thief does not have an easy life. Gosh, just leave me alone, okay? Oh my gosh! Better offer. I tell you something about Gelford. Gelford. Somehow that name seems familiar. Now I know, he's that loudmouth who owes me 300 gold coins. You don't seem to like him much. Of course I don't. That guy left me high and dry while running away scared from the orcs with my gold. I will confront Gelford for you and settle the score. Do that, but leave me alone, please. I have much to do. Why did you become a thief? Don't ask me about that. I'm sure you would rather be saving the world. I don't know. I question my motives these days. But at any rate, why don't we go see Gelford and see what he has to say about this. Gelford, of course, is in Redock, which we have not been to in quite some time. Yo, buddy. I have bad news about Pier. He's actually a thief, and you are in his bad book. I hope you didn't have trouble with him. He's only interested in gold. By the way, you still owe him some. What are you talking about? 300 gold coins to be precise. It seems he lent you some. Yes, that was a while ago. Where's Pier now? He is near Trelis, disguised as a swineherd. I don't know what is worse, that he's a thief or now he shovels shit. That I at least try to settle my debt with him. Perhaps I misjudged him back then. Here, take this gold and give it to him if you should meet him again. Alright. Of course, if you don't want to, you don't have to give that gold back. But I think we'll do it just to be an honest citizen. Here's a sharp axe. I would love to use that, but we don't really... Ooh. Well, I don't really want to use that because it doesn't have the poison. It only has 10 more damage. So I don't think it's worth that to us. Ladies and gentlemen, pardon me a moment if you don't mind. Boop.
Now it's your turn.
Shit's going down, Holmes. Fucking bandits.
You showed him.
I sure did, motherfucker. Oh, you sack of shit. Eat it, you fucker. I kick their fucking asses. And actually, now that I've come all this way back here, with the use of teleportation magic, I kind of want to head back to Ardea. And the only reason for this is I want to check the statue, just to ensure that I'm not missing out on anything. I just want to make sure that there are, in particular, the Flame Wave spell. I want to make sure that's not something I can get this early in the game, because if I can get it now, it would be very useful to me. Oh, you can get Fire Rain?
I'm not ready for that.
Woohoo! But you can get Flame Wave with some more ancient knowledge. I think we can pull that off, though, if I'm not mistaken. Let's head to Redak once more. Talk to the Fire Mage. What's his name? Sebastian? That is a shit ton of ancient knowledge just for Fire Rain. 250, and we have 111. So 139 more points of ancient knowledge. That's probably where we're gonna invest most of our learning points from this point forward. But excuse me, it surprises me that that's not one of the endgame spells for how much it's worth, especially since it is the most expensive one. This meteor spell, though, is actually quite powerful as well. There was a dark day in my life where I would cheat a lot in video games, and there's a certain code, I can't really remember what it is, but a certain code you enter. See, does the console work? Oh, I fucked it up. Oh, all I did was turn it into a window, and now, where is the guru? Oh dear, I do not know.